Good evening, everyone. Wow, full house. Looks great. Thank you for attending and being involved. This is the Town Council meeting for Tuesday, June 6th, 2023. Starting just a little late, but pretty close on time. Call to order, please.
Councilmember Zabel.
Present.
Droz.
Here.
Lombardo.
Here.
Schooler.
Here.
And Mayor Dennison.
Thank you for attending and being involved. Absent. Excused absence. Okay. Let's have the Pledge of Allegiance. We're going to have Councilmember Schooler lead us. Please stand and stay standing. We're going to have an invocation led by Pastor Jerry Adams of the Gateway Assembly of God. After. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for the prayer.
Heavenly Father, thank you for your grace and your goodness and your blessing in our lives and in our community. We pray for your guidance and direction in this meeting tonight. Thank you for all those who work so hard and serve us so well here in Yucca Valley. Lord, I pray your blessing upon our mayor and our town council, our town manager, the administrators, and everyone who leads and does such a wonderful job to make Yucca Valley a great place to live. I pray for the wisdom. I pray for the direction to be upon them as they make decisions that affect our lives. Lord, I recall that this very day, 79 years ago, Allied forces stormed the beaches of Normandy in defense of our freedom, to stand against evil and tyranny and totalitarianism. Many gave life and limb in order to keep us free. They're our heroes. We thank you for them, as well as for all those who have served in our armed forces since that time. I pray, God, for your blessing and your protection upon our troops. We know that even today there are enemies out there who would seek to oppress us, do us harm, and destroy our way of life. And so I pray that you will continue to keep us free and safe and strong, and bless our troops who serve us and protect us. We also recognize that here at home in our own communities, that we've seen an increase in crime and violence and lawlessness. And I thank you, Lord, for our law enforcement officers who each and every day put their own lives on the line as they don the uniform to keep us safe. I pray, Lord, for our San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, for the California Highway Patrol, for all of our law enforcement, that you would watch over them and protect them as they protect us. Thank you for the privilege of being Americans and for the blessing of living in Yucca Valley. We ask your blessing upon this meeting tonight. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you. Thank you, Pastor. That was well done. All right, so welcome everyone. Let's go forward with the approval of the agenda. Oh, I'm sorry there. Gosh, jumping ahead here. Presentations, introductions, and recognitions. I'm sorry. I am to read the proclamation here. Designating May 21st through May 27th as the National Parks Public Works Week. And therefore, whereas the Public Works personnel of the town of Yucca Valley are responsible for the maintenance, planning, design, and construction of streets and roadways, parks, playfields, and open spaces, public buildings, and fleet maintenance, vitally important to our community. And whereas during the COVID-19 pandemic, severe weather events and other emergencies, the town of Yucca Valley Public Works personnel are quick to respond to ensure safe access and functionality to public facilities, roadways, and public spaces. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed as Mayor Pro Tem of the town of Yucca Valley that the Yucca Valley Town Council observes May 21st through May 27th, 2023 as National Public Works Week in the town of Yucca Valley, and encourages all residents, businesses, and community organizations to recognize the substantial contributions public works personnel make to protect our health, safety, and quality of life. Presented this 6th day of June, 2023. Okay. Are we going to hand out the...
It's fine.
We're good? Mm-hmm. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So now we'll move on to approval of agenda.
Mayor, I'll move approval of the agenda.
I had a question on the approval of the agenda for item number 8.
Yes.
Is that being moved?
Yes, it is. With your approval.
Consent agenda.
So Mayor Pro Tem, staff is recommending to remove item number 8
Oh, okay.
from the consent agenda to item number 14 for discussion. This item was inadvertently placed on consent.
Okay.
Then I'll go ahead and move the approval of the agenda tonight. I'll second that. I'll second.
Okay.
Well, a second.
You'll second. Okay. All right. So let's have a roll call.
To approve the agenda as amended,
Yes.
Councilmember Zabel,
Yes.
Droz,
Yes.
Schooler,
Yes.
and Mayor Pro Tem Lombardo.
Yes. Okay. So we have approved up to...
Was that the consent agenda or the agenda?
Now we go to consent agenda.
Okay, so consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda are routine matters of formal documents covering the previous town council instructions. Items are enacted by one motion and a second without separate discussions unless a member of the town council or staff requests dialogue of a specific item at the beginning of the meeting. Requests for public comment on the consent agenda items should be filed with the town clerk. All right, so consent agenda. Do we have any public comments? Please come to the podium.
So, I'm sorry, my name is Pardeep Singh. So are you moving to item number 8 now, or are you skipping item
Number 8 will be taken as number 14 at the end of the,
at the end of the meeting?
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I'll move that we approve, if there's no other public comment, I'll move the consent agenda as amended.
Okay. I need a second.
I will second.
Okay. Roll call.
Councilmember Zabel,
Yes.
Droz,
Yes.
Schooler,
Yes.
and Mayor Pro Tem Lombardo.
Yes. Okay, so we are now on item number 12. And it's the Youth Commission term report. Can we,
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem
Have our-
and council members. I'm so happy to be here this evening. This is the 2022-23 Youth Commission end-of-term report. Of course, it's customary for the town council to receive an end-of-the-term report on the activities of the commission. So the recommendation this evening is to receive and file the report regarding their activities. So we do have many of our youth commissioners here this evening. So in order to make the presentation, I'd like to invite our chair, Ashley Lowe, and all of our youth commissioners to the podium.
great.
Welcome, Chair Lowe.
Welcome. Good evening, Mayor and council members. 2022-23 Youth Commission. The Town Council established the Youth Commission to be appointed annually to serve as an advisory group on youth-related issues and to serve the community. The council has appointed the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Commission to oversee the activities of the Youth Commission. The following report is an overview of our activities for the term. Youth Commission Work Plan. Our term began by developing a work plan. Youth Commission members submitted ideas and discussed options. We approved a work plan which featured monthly community events focused on serving our local seniors and teens. In addition, we volunteered at many community events. Our final plan had a variety of events and community service activities. We then worked to decide the details of each of the events. Taylor Soros, Commissioner, speaking now.
So we brought back a very popular program, Teen Tech Help for Seniors. This program had us tutor seniors on how to use their electronic devices, cell phones, tablets, and laptops, etc. The sessions were offered February 6th, 13th, and 27th from 2:30 to 4:30 p.m. Popular requests for assistance were learning how to text, taking and sharing photos, and using social media. The Youth Commission also hosted a spring dance to celebrate our senior citizen. The dance took place at this community center, and we had refreshments and a dessert bar served by our Youth Commissioner members. There was also live music and fun door prizes. Admission was free for seniors, and guests under the age of 55 paid a $5 admission fee. We invited teens and their families to work and treat their grandparents to a fun evening. And on Saturday, April 29th, the Youth Commission hosted a Teen Splash Day at Yucca Valley Community Center soccer field. The event had water slides, a dunk tank, cornhole, hula hoops, and door prizes, along with refreshing snow cones and snack foods. Admission was free, and the commission invited teens and their families to this fun evening, fun community event. And now Commissioner Smith.
So, when we first scheduled this day, we thought it was going to be a little chilly, but we actually had great weather, and it was a great day for all the families to go and enjoy the water slides and the free food that we offered. We had over 450 participants that showed up, and of those 450, over 260 of them took advantage of the free water slides and all the fun games that we offered.
Very good.
And another event that we brought back was our middle school forums, and let me tell you, it was so fun. As someone who went to La Quintana, it was great to see all the students again, and we got to do a lot of fun games, and we got to explain to them what Youth Commission was and what we do, and we got to answer any questions that they had about Youth Commission, about the town, about, stuff that they were wondering about high school, and I think they all had a lot of fun.
Very good.
And our last event was our Grub Steak Day parade. The Youth Commission had a float in the parade, which encouraged reducing, reusing, and recycling. And as you can see, that is our float up there, which was made by the Youth Commission. And now back to Chair Lowe.
Awesome.
Okay, the May event middle school, we just went over that. Okay, community service. Youth Commissioners assisted the recreation staff in the presentation of special events this year. We provided volunteer service at town events including the tree lighting ceremony, holiday craft fair, snow play day, Healthy Hearts Run, Easter egg hunt, and the Grub Steak Run. 2022 Youth Commission signing out. Thank you for the opportunity to serve our town. We would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right. Very good. It always amazes me how much you get done in one year, one school year, and the number of people attending the events was very high this year. That was really great. I think we're all glad to come out of COVID and be back together, aren't we?
Yes.
Yeah. You guys did a great job.
Thank you.
And Mayor Pro Tem Lombardo, if you'd like to join me, we can give them their recognition.
You betcha.
I'd also like to say that the Teen Splash was just an amazing event. The amount of apparatus that we had, it was just like really professionally done, and you did have a great turnout. I just had a quick question on how did each one of you anyone who wants to speak, how did you find out about the Youth Commission? Was it from our Youth Commission outreach? Was it a sister, a brother, a teacher, a parent? And how did you find out about the Youth Commission?
I'll hand this over to Carly Rhodes.
All right.
I started Youth Commission last year, and I found out through a former Youth Commissioner, Savannah Canto, and I started, and she was with me last year helping me, and I continued this year.
So a personal invitation from one of the youth commissioners? Okay. Anyone else? Yeah.
I also joined last year, and I found out from one of the flyers that the town gives out on everything that they do, and my parents actually found it, and they showed it to me, and were like, hey, this is fun. And then later in the year, after I had already applied, a couple of my teachers had also mentioned it to another student, so if I hadn't have found out from that flyer, I probably would have found out from one of my teachers.
Okay, thank you.
That was a great presentation. Thank you for that. How many youth commissioners aren't here? There's 8 of you. How many more of you are there this year? 14. 14 total? Okay, great job. Great events. I came out to observe a couple of them, and great job. Love your energy. Yeah, thank you for the report.
And I just want to say thank you for all that you've done, and don't forget to put this on your resumes in the future. Thank you.
So what we'd like to do is, I'll call the names, and Mayor Pro Tem, if you would like to hand out the certificate. Sure. And then if any of the youth commissioners, if you want to speak and let us know, what in particular was a highlight of your youth commission service, we'd be happy to do that. So we'll start with our certificate, and these are a certificate of appreciation. The 2022-23 Youth Commission provided programming to the community by presenting monthly community events, including the Teen Tech Time for Seniors, Senior Dance, Teen Splash Day, Middle School Forums, and the Grubstake Days Appreciation, Grubstake Days Parade. In addition, your hard work and participation as a volunteer in support of town special events such as the Holiday Craft Fair and Santa Visits, the Healthy Hearts Run, and the Easter egg hunt is highly commendable. We are grateful for your volunteer spirit as a commissioner. Your efforts truly make a difference in improving the quality of life in Yucca Valley. Thank you for your commitment to your community. Signed June 6th, 2023, Mayor Rick Dennison. And this is to our chair, Ashley Lowe.
Ashley.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And this is to our vice chair, Carlina Rhodes.
Carlina. Lot of work there.
And Commissioner Taylor Soares.
Taylor.
And Commissioner Acacia Smith. And Commissioner Jaylee Falcon. And Commissioner Ruben Taryn.
Ruben? No Ruben.
And I think this next one's, I just want to mention him, Commissioner Seth Duvall, who wasn't able to be with us tonight. Seth Duvall, yes. Commissioner Avneet Kaur. Commissioner Paige Lopez Elliott couldn't be with us tonight. Commissioner Wesley McDavis. Wesley. Commissioner Richard Abbott. And Commissioner Sophia Abbott.
Sophia. Well done. Congratulations. All right.
The youth commissioners are welcome to make any comments. Does anyone want to share?
Anybody want to share anything?
Come on in.
I'm Commissioner Smith. I've been up here a couple times now. I wanted to say that this was really fun this year and last year. I love being on Youth Commission. I think it's really great getting to help people in my town and getting to contribute to the town, and it's been really, really fun. So thank you all for giving us this opportunity.
Chairman Ashley Lowe here. I've been doing this for 3 years now, and it's been awesome. And this is my last year. I'm graduating tomorrow, so, yep, 12th grade.
Vice Chair Rhodes, and this is my second year. I do plan on returning. I genuinely enjoy Youth Commission. It's something I've always been fond of. So I will definitely be returning next year, and I plan to see it.
Commissioner Soares, I just want to say thank you because this Youth Commission is such a great thing that we have in our town, and I'm so grateful that we have it a part of our town. It's such a great way to bring the community together and for us to contribute.
Hi, I'm Youth Commissioner Jalea Falcon, and I enjoyed the socializing and teamwork that we did.
Commissioner Avneet Kaur, and I'm grateful for Youth Commission because of the opportunities it provides.
I'm Youth Commissioner Sophia Abbott, and it's my first year in Youth Commission, and I quite like Youth Commission because it helped me socialize more and build teamwork with others, and I really like that part.
I'm Commissioner Richard Abbott, and I like Youth Commission because it's fun and yeah.
That's always a lot of fun, and it's nice to see people returning after being on the commission year after year. It seems to be something that's really beneficial, and it's fun to watch you as you proceed and you grow into a senior and graduate high school. It's a big deal, and you guys are well on your way to a great future. All right.
Also, Mayor Pro Tem, I just wanted to point out that although we're losing Chair Lowe as a youth commissioner, she is on staff this summer, so she's coming to work for
Awesome.
us.
She's going to be working with you. Very good. See what happens? Okay. Very good.
The master plan.
Number 13. Do we need public comment at all on the?
You can take public comment if you want. It's just a receive and file, so there's no formal action for you this evening.
All righty. Pursuant to the town's manual of procedural guidelines, it is recommended that the town council affirm Mayor Pro Tem Lombardo's nomination, appointing a member to the Planning Commission with an interim term expiring January 31st of 2025.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This next item this evening is the appointment of a commissioner to the Yucca Valley Planning Commission. Council members have the opportunity to nominate interested individuals with the nomination then ratified by the majority vote of the council. Typically, commissioner terms are for 4 years, beginning on February 1st, coinciding with the term of the nominating council member. This particular appointment is to fill a midterm vacancy created by the resignation of Brad Napiantek. The term for this appointment is through January 31st, 2025. After a public recruitment period, 14 applications were received from interested individuals. The nominating council member is Mayor Pro Tem Lombardo, who conducted the application review. I believe Mayor Pro Tem Lombardo is now ready to announce his nomination.
After careful consideration and going through 14 various applications, there were enormous number of very well-qualified people. I think there were 5 or 6 people that were just outstanding in their qualifications, higher degrees of education. Some were experienced in civil engineering. We had architects. We had people that built large projects all over the world. It was just an astounding group of people. My choice is to have Alejandro Vasconcelos as our new planning commissioner. He's a local guy, grew up here as a child, and has educated and is in the field of civil engineering type of thing. I think surveying, and that he works for the Edison Company in planning. He is extremely well qualified and has a lot of contact with the community. I think he has Yucca Valley's best at heart, and I think he'll be an outstanding planning commissioner. And I would seek to have my council's approval of his nomination. Is there any public comment?
Mayor Pro Tem, you may wish to have your applicant introduce himself. That might be nice for your council as well.
That'd be great. Alejandro, will you come forward and say a few words to our group here?
Hello, Councilman. My name is Alejandro Vasconcelos. I've lived here in Yucca Valley for almost 44 years now in August. Lived here my whole life, been a part of the community. I've worked for various civil engineering firms, and then in the past 8 years I've worked for Southern California Edison. I've always had an interest in the Planning Commission. I think the opportunity now came, and it was the right time for me to try to step up and make a difference in my community. I currently also am involved with the league, the youth soccer league here. I'm the president of the soccer league as well. So I'm no stranger to the public eye. And so I really appreciate this opportunity you guys are giving me to help better this community that I've lived in my whole life.
Well, thank you, and
Good.
I think you're going to do great. Okay.
Thanks.
Any other comment? Back to the council.
I will. I have to, Alejandro. Alejandro is one of my students in high school in drafting class, and he's always excelled. And he's smart, kind, determined. He's been very successful. He's raising his family here, and he has children, and he's married, and he's dedicated to the community, as he said, how long he's lived here. I just have one warning for the other planning commissioners and Shane, because I had him in high school. He's really good at spit wads. So be careful, you know, don't give him a straw. But otherwise, no, I'm just joking. He never did that in my class. He's always been respectful, and I've known him for so many years, so I don't think we could have a better choice. So I say yes.
Well, thank you for all the applicants. Again, this is what I feel is probably the most important decision a council member makes is placing commissioners on these important boards, and Planning Commission being the one that is the most as far as the future of the community, and a lot of the details and a lot of technical knowledge is probably one of the more challenging and important commissions to be part of. I was afraid that Councilmember Droz was saying you still had an assignment due or something with that, but apparently you turned them all in, so that's a good thing. And then also to see your credentials. We have an outstanding planning commission, very knowledgeable people. They do a fantastic job. And I think you'll probably fit in very, very well with them. I know that in your profession working in Southern Cal Edison, my understanding is a lot of your projects are outside of the Morongo Basin and so forth. So obviously, if there's something that comes up that's in the Morongo Basin that might be a possible conflict of interest, obviously you would speak to legal counsel about whether you need to recuse yourself or not. But you had a tough job because there were a lot of wonderful candidates. So I'm very pleased with your appointment. Thank you.
Okay.
And I agree. I'm glad it wasn't me that had to sift through those 14 applications. I reviewed them. They looked all very well qualified, or at least the majority of them. So I'd be happy to make the motion to appoint Alejandro Vasconcelos to the Planning Commission.
I would like to second that.
Okay. Roll call.
Councilmember Zabel,
Yes.
Droz,
Yes.
Schooler,
Yes.
and Mayor Pro Tem Lombardo.
Yes. Congratulations and welcome to the town. Do you want to say anything? Now that you're in the hot seat?
Yes, thanks again, yeah, and just to clarify, yeah, I do work for Southern California Edison, but all the work that I do for Edison now is in like the Wildomar, Menifee, Temecula area, so I no longer have any kind of ties here locally to any project, so it shouldn't be any kind of conflict of interest for that type of work. So yeah, I'm excited for the opportunity and can't wait to start making a difference.
Good.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All righty. Now we're going to move to item number 8, which was taken off the consent agenda.
Mayor Pro Tem, let's go ahead and, I think the agenda as approved was for item number 14 first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this would be the Revenue Measure Oversight Commission.
All righty.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council. This item is for the appointment of a Revenue Measure Oversight Commissioner. In March of this year, Commissioner Burge announced he was not seeking reappointment to the Revenue Measure Oversight Commission, creating a vacancy. We recently had a public recruitment. We had 4 applications received by those interested in serving on the commission. Since the posting of this meeting's agenda, Ms. Bolin has withdrawn her application for consideration. The Revenue Measure Oversight Commission appointments are at the council's discretion, and staff does not make a specific recommendation as to any particular applicant. It is at the pleasure of the council to consider the appointment or to request an additional recruitment period. The recommendation this evening is to consider the submitted applications and recommend the appointment of an applicant to the Revenue Measure Oversight Commission for a term ending on April 1st, 2027. This concludes the staff report. I'd be happy to answer any questions following public comment.
Mayor Pro Tem, to start public comment, you may wish to ask any of the applicants. I don't know if any of them are here or online, but that may be appropriate for you this evening.
Okay. Very good. So is there any public comment or any of the potential commissioners on either in present here or on the online? Are there any? Please come forward.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Lombardo and Council. My name is Tracy Tremblay. I'm about a 30-year resident of Yucca Valley and a lifelong resident of Morongo Basin. New Commissioner Vasconcelos and I actually graduated high school together, so it's nice to see some really familiar faces in the room. I have a 25-year career in banking, and I've served the community for many years, mostly through local nonprofits, sitting on various boards. I would really be happy for the opportunity to serve in a different capacity with the town. I believe my expertise and my skill set would be beneficial to the Revenue Oversight Commission. And currently I'm the Senior Vice President and Regional Manager of Pacific Western Bank, which takes up a lot of time, but this commission I think really fits in with something that I'm passionate about, and again, something that I can really contribute to. So I would be glad to serve if I am appointed. Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Anybody online? Back to council. Any comments?
Same thing with Tracy. I've known her since she was in high school, and I was a teacher there. And she actually was my daughter's cheerleading buddy or leader when my daughter started cheerleading. And I sat on a nonprofit with Tracy for a long time. So I think Tracy's great. But to really prove yourself, could you do a cheer?
A financial cheer. Financial.
Okay, never mind. But you have my full support. You're totally capable of this, and you deserve it. So thank you.
Again, applicant Tremblay has proven herself through the years as a community-involved member, and her expertise in community events and also dealing with nonprofits and so forth, and surviving Jeff Drode's classroom is probably a bonus as far as her application and her qualifications are. But yeah, it's nice to see again some great applicants, so I'm in support of that appointment.
And I've had the opportunity to work with Tracy in a number of capacities in the community over the years, and certainly feel like she's qualified, and glad to see that she's interested in doing this appointment. So if we're looking for a motion, I will make that motion to appoint Tracy Tremblay to the Revenue Measure Oversight Commission.
Very good.
I'll be glad to second that.
Very good. All right.
Councilmembers Abel,
Yes.
Droz,
Yes.
Schooler,
Yes.
and Mayor Pro Tem Lombardo.
Yes. Congratulations. Come say something. Again. Let's do a cheer.
Thank you for your support, and I really look forward to serving. Thank you again.
All right, thank you very much. It's now official. Okay, now, are we going to do 15 then and then go to 8? Okay, got it. So, right now, we are going to discuss direction to the Planning Commission and staff, commercial design guidelines and development branding.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The recommendation before you this evening is that the Town Council directs the Planning Commission and staff to evaluate the existing commercial design guidelines for allowing the placement of freestanding or attached branding mascots in commercial development projects. As part of this discussion, we're going to talk a little bit about the sign ordinance because statues, mascots are currently identified as signs within the town's sign code. So to talk about that a little bit, your sign ordinance identifies a sign as any structure, housing device, figure, statuary, or other contrivance that's used to designate, identify, indicate the business conducted, services available or rendered, or the goods produced, sold, or available for sale. So today, the town's ordinance allows for statues to be used as signs. You've seen in social media, most recently, discussion about the Sinclair gas station and the dinosaur, as well as Black Bear Diner and the black bears that are commonly used for that restaurant. The town's code allows for the use of those statues, but it has to be in compliance with your other sign code provisions, so height, square footage, all of those types of things. So the sign code allows for it. This was clearly identified by the Planning Commission back in 2005, and I indicate here it was Bob's Big Boy, but looking at, and that's what my memory says, but looking at the photo a little bit closer, I think it was either Mama Burger or maybe Baby Burger statue that was placed right over here at what most recently was La Casita Restaurant that was used for advertising food being sold. It's identified as a sign. It falls under the sign code. The Planning Commission confirmed that interpretation back in 2005, and that same language still exists today. So as I'm going to be walking through a few examples of different types of statues and mascots that are used, and I would like the council to think about something former council member Bill Neeb used to say. And he would say it frequently. What are we going to do about Highway 62? It is our front door. How are we going to regulate it? How do we want it to represent Yucca Valley? So if you'd think about Bill Neeb and how he used to say that at council meetings, I'm going to walk through a few things tonight. Some of it is humorous, but it's intended to raise the issue of how do we regulate these types of things and achieve what we want to see along the highway. Your sign code talks about aesthetics, signage should be clear, community design standards, regulating the design, the character, the location, the type, quality of materials, the scale, all of those things that we look at when we look at signs. So we're going to walk through some examples, both very old, back in the 50s, as well as more modern. I'm going to walk through quickly. So here's Bob's Big Boy. There used to be one of these in Yucca Valley before it closed down. That became Carol's Restaurant, and then most recently IHOP. And Bob's Big Boy is probably one of the more frequently identified and recognized mascots that's used. You see it was picked up by another restaurant that was using something similar to that. But if you're branding on a budget, maybe you only get an arm from Bob's Big Boy, and that gets planted in the road. Now, why is this important? If you don't have standards, and if you don't have regulations, this is what you can get. If you allow unfettered use of statues, and in the Morongo Basin, you will end up with this along the highway. And I don't think staff can stress that enough. Modern branding through reduce, reuse, and recycle. The restaurant, Bob's Big Boy, became one of holding the tires at the used tire store. What do we want the highway to look like? When Bob's Big Boy started closing down, we ended up with
How did you arrange
the
that?
junkyard. What happens in the neighborhood? Well, down the road from us a little bit to the east in Joshua Tree in the month of April, you may have seen the cowboy. Now, it's important to remember with signs what you can't regulate. You can't regulate content. If a statuary is allowed to be used under your sign code and you can't regulate content, what can you end up with? And is that truly, all joking aside now, thinking about what is that image we want to set along Highway 62? If you use the average number of vehicle trips per day on Highway 62, you have between 10 and 12 million vehicle trips on Highway 62 in a year. That's your tourism base, whether they're going to Joshua Tree National Park or they're going to Lake Havasu, the Parker Strip, out to Vegas or beyond. Most recently, we had a request for the one on the left, the Sonic Cup. Sonic had made the request that they could install that on the roof of their building. Our code doesn't allow for that, but unregulated, those are the types of things we can end up with. Historical branding, Dairy Queen. I'm guessing this is around 1950, based upon the car, the panel wagon that's in the background. Bananas for their banana splits, signage. It was very, very good marketing in terms of what they were selling. The Happy Chef, he definitely looks happy, without a doubt. What do we want the highway to look like? Jack's a little scary in this picture, and that's all I can say about this one. Sorry. Again, more examples. Some of us, probably many of us in this room, went to A&W, Papa Burger, Mama Burger, Teen Burger, Baby Burger, all of those. Some of those, I'm sure, are still floating around in different places. Now we're getting into more sophistication. Steakhouse, what did they stick out on the road? Well, they definitely weren't farmers because you don't use a bull for steaks, you use a steer for steaks, but ingenious marketing nonetheless. More restaurants, chef. Chef appears to be a pretty frequently used statue in a number of different restaurant venues. Inflatable statues are becoming very common. I'm sure they're very affordable. You can pick them up for a weekend or a special event, or maybe it's a month's period of marketing. But those are the types of things that can pop up along the highway. Pizza pie, pizza place to eat, another chef, and the Lucky Moose. Some of these make no sense whatsoever, and this goes back to what do we want along the highway. So we have Paul Bunyan at May's Vietnamese Cuisine Cafe. I'm not sure what the relationship is. We have some incompatible messaging and branding, but I'm sure it attracts some tourists to stop at May's Cafe nonetheless. What happens when your mascot or your statue is also a sign with the roasted chicken as well as the chicken? How do you regulate those things? What do you want your highway to look like? This one's really confusing, and I think this is a really good example of what staff wants to communicate tonight. So you've got Lee's Restaurant sign up above the roof. You've then got Foghorn Leghorn up on the stand, but below Foghorn Leghorn is all-you-can-eat fish and chips. So we're not sure what the relationship is between the chicken and all-you-can-eat fish and chips, but then he's got the wall sign for Lee's. So this is an abundance of signage used then with the rooster for, again, additional site identification. Portable signs, so statues put on a portable trailer, pulled out in the morning, taken back at the end of the day. Something to think about and could very easily, in fact, there is one in town. It's in the west end of town at the truck liner shop. I think it's the lady with the moving sign. It's one of our enforcement actions today. Again, incompatible messaging. I believe their sign up above says Carl's Bakery. Definitely says bakery. I'm not sure about the first name, but then they're using the chicken. So maybe chickens are an inexpensive form of statue that can be purchased. A number of people use them, but it's very interesting. Then modern branding, still using the old A&W, but tying it into modern restaurants.
Boy, that's it is.
Now, I intentionally included this one. I believe this one is out of Chico, California. And you'll notice the heading I use, Design Standards for Branding Mascots. I probably wouldn't drive my kids or my grandkids through this drive-through based upon what that looks like. But how do you control and how do you regulate? What do you want the appearance of Highway 62 to look like? Some language from the town's commercial design guidelines, because the suggestion from staff, based upon what we know today, is that if the council wishes to see these types of devices used, that they be removed from the sign code and they put into your architectural standards within the design guidelines. It gives you a much greater degree of regulation, and you're not tied into First Amendment content regulations that you are in your sign code. It's probably a much better location, gives you much broader discretion in staff's opinion today. That's all subject to change as we move forward. How do all these pieces fit together? The council has a number of different issues that you're working on. Tourism, and the council's priority, the appearance of Highway 62, exactly what Bill Neeb used to say. SR 62 is the town's front door. You've talked about art in public places, improving the appearance of Highway 62. We have $35 million allocated by SBCTA for widening of Highway 62 between Sage and Airway, with that construction occurring under the current schedule around 2030. These things all tie together. That project's going to include relocating the high voltage power overhead lines of Southern California Edison, impacts on the outer highways, impacts on private property owners' parking lots, all of those things. Your sign regulations and then your commercial design guidelines. So while on the surface it sounds easy to talk about let the bears go in with the development, let the dinosaurs stay, it's not that simple. And all of these things have an effect on what people see as they drive through your community. Recommendation is that the town council directs the planning commission and staff to evaluate the existing commercial design guidelines for allowing the placement of freestanding or attached branding mascots in commercial development projects. So thank you for letting us have a little bit of fun this evening with some of these diagrams, but it's an important issue because Highway 62 is our front door. We'd be happy to answer questions following public comment.
Mayor Pro Tem, if I could just add a couple of comments. I really commended Shane when we were putting this together, just to see some of the humor in it. But it's a serious issue also, and we understand that the community, there's a couple of opportunities for the community to have significant input via social media on these two topics. We're hopeful that they are represented here tonight and they come if it's really an issue that is significant. hopefully you hear from the community on that. We're not going to be providing knee-jerk reactions or policy responses in terms of social media outcry. I don't think that's probably the best way for you to have recommendations for governance. We would never do that, but we do want to be thoughtful, respectful, and listen to the public, and then bring back to you solid policy recommendations that you can consider. And there may be very legitimate reasons that you do so. So I appreciate the humor. Some of those still crack me up.
Thank you for that. All right, is there any comments from the public?
Mayor Pro Tem, we have a request to speak by Party Singh.
Please adjust the microphone and speak clearly so we can all hear.
Good evening, members of the council. My name is Pardeep Singh. I have CJ Dhaliwal here with me. We are representing ownership and development of the Black Bear Diner, which has helped bring up the issue of the statues along, your beautiful state route. I'm here for any questions you might have, but just to kind of plead our case as developers of a franchise, these bears are a part of our image, and we don't necessarily consider it signage because it's something when you come into our restaurant, you come and you visit the family bears and you come as a family, or you might be coming by yourself, and it's a part of our branding, but it's not necessarily a signage, and that's where, as Shane might have pointed out, we can make some adjustments to have these bears as a part of the architectural guidelines where, they will be anchored down properly and not being issued to the community or anything like that, and maintained very well with our landscaping. So, we just want you to consider making some amendments to allow more franchises to come in and, invest in your community, create jobs. Our initial hiring, we're going to try to employ as many people as we can in this community and, keep that going with revenue towards the community and all types of other things. So I appreciate your time, and if you have any questions, I'm here for you.
Thank you for your presentation. Are there any other comments? Anybody online? Okay. Back to the council. Any? Jim,
Yeah, well, the recommendation is to direct the Planning Commission to evaluate the existing guidelines, and I think that's a good approach. I think something like what the applicant was talking about, where it's the branding of the restaurant, and I know this community is champing at the bit for Black Bear Diner to open up. Everybody I've talked to, but beyond that, I would like to see some flexibility so that, and I don't know how that happens. Shane, that was an excellent presentation, and it demonstrated some of the absurdity too, where you can get way out of hand if we don't have some kind of regulation. So I do support a review and encourage some flexibility so that we can find a way to accommodate something like Black Bear Diner, or maybe even Sinclair, but also keep our corridor from being really junky with so many chickens that we saw. But
that one square.
All kinds of chickens. But yeah, I support the motion here and look forward to the review and hope that we can get through it quickly.
I agree. I think the direction by the town is correct. It should go to the Planning Commission, and I'm glad if we approve this, it will be on Alejandro's first agenda, so that's great. But anyway, we called ourselves a town for a reason. I think that reason was so we weren't like your vision of a city. You wanted to be a little more charming, but we don't want to be Joshua Tree either. When I look at all those examples up there, it's like 98% of those I would not want in Yucca Valley. The portable ones, of course, I think are wrong. I think having lettering on the statuary would be wrong if it's just a symbol. But I think going through the Planning Commission, and once it's up, there should be no changes to the sign. You can't change it like, you get it approved and then a month later you do something different with it. But I do think it should go through the Planning Commission in some way, or the Parks and Cultural Commission. it should go through some entity to be approved. I don't think we're going to have hundreds and hundreds of people wanting to put statuaries in front of their businesses. But I think there will be a few. It won't inundate the planning commission like the Joshua Tree issue has. And I think it's something that maybe could go through the planning commission for approval, each statuary. But that would be for the planning commission to decide. So I agree with the direction to go through the planning commission and let them decide. And I do agree that I would like to see the bears there. And I appreciate you being here today, so thank you.
Council member.
Yeah, I do really appreciate staff's report, and I love how Shane puts it in reality. We think of what we want, but then you have to make a policy that can be carried on for, this is since 2005, the last time it was looked at with the Planning Commission. So it's amazing that we haven't run into this problem before. Since 2005, it's gone pretty well until, and we're not making a policy for Black Bear Diner. I don't want people to think that, although we're thrilled that they're coming, and yeah, they do have very high-class ways of marketing and so forth, and we're thrilled about the Black Bear Diner coming. But it's a policy that we're going to have to live with for a very, very long time. And although that was extremely funny in some ways, is also it really is taking place in communities. You really do see that kind of stuff in areas. So it wasn't manufactured, it's actual proof that this is something that we could be dealing with if we don't do this correctly and do it the right way. I do agree with the applicant from the Black Bear Diner that maybe the statuaries don't need to be in the signage, but they do need to be in more of the architectural phases. So I do agree with staff's recommendations to move in that direction. And again, I think with the presentation, it really shows people that maybe see this or that we're commenting online, yeah, I can see why we have regulations. And I also want to point out, sometimes Planning Commission gets a lot of grief or our planning staff get a lot of grief for decisions made, but it's the town council who set policies and approve policies, previous councils that make those, and their job is to carry out those policies. So the Planning Commission did the right thing because the policy doesn't allow for what was asked for. But it's also the council's responsibility to make adjustments and to be flexible and also to update things that might need a second look. So I really, I'm glad we're bringing this forward to the Planning Commission to look at, and so I would move the recommendation as presented.
I'm also in favor of bringing it to the Planning Commission. I think it's important that Yucca Valley stays current and adjustable to new things, and it needs to be looked at. I'm in favor of statuary. I like that. I think it would better fit in a architectural design kind of thing. I've always been an artist, and I think my Italian heritage is definitely attracted to statuary, but usually more on the more classical side of things than a bear, but if it's done well, I still like that. So I would like to make a motion that we...
Oh, you got the motion.
You want to move that?
Yeah.
Oh, he did, okay. So then I will second. And can we have a roll call?
Councilmember Zabel,
Yes.
Droz,
Yes.
Schooler,
Yes.
and Mayor Pro Tem Lombardo.
Yes. All right, thank you. Now, we go on to number 15. Town Services Consolidation and Public Meeting Space Project, Town Project Number 5007, approval and authorization of agreement for preparation of construction plans and specifications, Gillis and Parchinhap Architect, Inc.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The recommendation before you this evening is that the Town Council approves the design development plan as presented approves and authorizes an agreement with Gillis and Panachappan Architects, Inc. for preparation of construction plans and specifications for the project in the amount of $632,292, and authorizes the mayor, town manager, and town attorney to sign all documents necessary to implement the project. A little bit of background: the town has a facilities master plan, and that master plan was developed in 2007. That plan identified numerous public buildings that needed to be developed as the town's population moved towards that ultimate build-out population that the then general plan identified at around 65,000. During the study of town facilities, two major significant limitations to the existing facilities were noted. Number one, lack of enough space to support all operational needs of the various departments. And two, inefficient use of the existing space due to space constraints. Some employees from the same department or division are not grouped together, which in turn inhibits the department from functioning efficiently. Historically, planning, building and safety, code compliance, and engineering were all relocated from Town Hall to the Public Works Yard in 1999 due to insufficient space at Town Hall. So your operations out at the Monterey Business Center all actually used to be here. 1999 is when they were relocated. Also, your animal control operation functioned from this center, from the community center, and only moved to the new shelter in 2013 when that new shelter was developed. Significant changes have occurred since that master plan was reviewed and acted upon back in 2007. Number one, the town's build-out population will likely not reach 65,000 in the identified planning window or in that 30-year window, thereby reducing the need to overbuild facilities. The town's population has varied between 21 and 22,000 for approximately 10 years. Most recently, there's actually been a slight reduction in the town's population. County Fire has reorganized, i.e. the fire district, and is a separate operating entity from the town. Facility planning for fire services falls within the responsibility of the county and the fire department or the fire district. Also, a new sheriff's department office was constructed in Joshua Tree to house all public safety operations serving both the town of Yucca Valley as well as the city of 29 Palms and the surrounding county unincorporated areas. Finally, the town rehabilitated the old PFF Bank building at 62 and Joshua Lane, created that as the new library space. That resulted in the freeing up of around 8,000 square feet of office space adjacent to Town Hall, where the library had been for a number of years. Based upon that information, the needs, as we see them today for our facility master plan, are more aligned with a population of approximately 30,000 for the foreseeable future. Town staff has evaluated the possibility of utilizing the existing town hall structure along with the recently vacated library space to cost efficiently consolidate town services. As part of this process, the town brought on board GPA, Gillis Panachappan Architects, to assist in the evaluation of a concept plan and a preliminary design plan. We're going to show you some of those this evening. We've spent approximately the last year, and I say we, this has been even though I'm talking this evening, this has been a team effort of many individuals who've provided their professional insight and guidance into this project on consolidating town services under one roof for efficiency and convenience. Tied into that, we have been hoping to create a dedicated public meeting space for town residents as a very critical element of pulling this project together. Two phases. The first phase included information gathering and some schematic designs. That was completed by GPA. Then the town team has reviewed alternatives for the interior and exterior development of the site, as well as final design development report, which includes building and floor plans, final facade and exterior improvements, the site plan, parking and landscaping, refined conceptual perspective of this final scheme. They've evaluated HVAC issues, which you can imagine are very expensive or costly item in any renovation project. Permit requirements, and based upon all of those, statement of probable costs for what we're looking at for the overall project. What we'll have, if this project moves forward, is approximately 14,000 square feet of space, which includes adding 1,700 square feet of new space onto, and I'll refer to it as the Town Hall Library building. There's also some related infrastructure improvements, landscaping, parking, circulation, potentially the solar upgrades for a full-service municipal facility that will address the community's needs for the next 15 to 20 years. So this is a bird's eye view. If you can imagine the parking lot in the Town Hall building today, you'll see that the parking lot has been divided into two segments. We've expanded the parking. We've connected it into the museum parking lot as part of that circulation plan. Should probably point out as part of this picture, how do they say it today? Full disclosure, because there's some things that will change. Your rose garden is probably no longer there, number one. Number two, we've been talking about statuaries tonight. The Goddess of Flight will be relocated. I'm sure the council will have some discussion in terms of where the Goddess of Flight goes, but the Goddess of Flight is not included in this site plan. Excuse me, let me turn around. Your primary entrance is going to be right over here. So a little bit different location, and we'll start looking at some elevations, make that a little bit clearer for you. So here is the Town Hall building today in a, I'll call this a little bit more of a schematic view. The entrance into Town Hall, as you know, is down on the southeast corner. Coming over here, you've got the walkway that comes down to the community center. These are the doors, the primary entrance on the east side to the former library. Flipping the page, what would the new exterior look like? Well, your primary entrance, which used to be down here, becomes a staff entrance. This portion is the 1,700 square foot addition onto the building, and your primary entrance is now here, similar, very close proximity to where the main entrance was to the library building. You've seen some architectural features added, and you can see definitely modernization in the architectural style for the addition. So again, just kind of flashing back to your existing structure, to what the architects have come up with for the project today. That was a view from the northeast corner. This is a view from the southeast corner. Again, your main entrance here today into Town Hall. And there'd be a staff entrance here. When the project is finished, you can still see the covered corridor, but your primary entrance is going to be over here, highlighted by this structure, as well as the town logo. Couple more views. East elevation facing out into the parking lot from, refer to it as the Carl's Jr. side. Your main entrance would be here, town logo. This is the addition onto the structure. You can see how those color combinations work. This is the west entrance, which is facing towards the senior center. Again, you'll be able to enter from the senior center side through this primary entrance. Again, matching up the two sides in architecture, use of the town logo and town identification. Floor plan. We talk about public space. 30 some odd years that the facility maintenance crews have been setting up and tearing down the Yucca room for public meetings. Council, Planning Commission, PRCC. Whoops, back up. Primary entrance on the east side, primary entrance on the west side. This is the public lobby for entrance into the building. Here is the front counter on this side, which is primarily going to serve your building and safety, engineering, code enforcement, all of those typical types of functions. Town administration is located on the other side of the hallway. This color, I'll refer to it as purple. This is all staff. This is all staffing areas, restrooms, break rooms, open office space, and you'll see a little bit more detail on the next slide. The blue represents public space. See new restrooms being developed here, and then finally a public meeting chamber, whether that meeting be for the town council, for the planning commission, or other organized efforts as part of the town's mission in delivering services to this community. You can see this starts to break it up now into a little bit more defined space. Again, this primary front service counter is made relatively large. For those of you that have been out at the Public Works facility and seen the front counter early in the morning when all the building and safety customers are in, or right after lunch when they're back for their second time in the afternoon, you can have 10, 11, 12, 13 people lined up at those different times for service. So we've designed this front office area to accommodate that need. The floor plan has been laid out by groups, so whether that's administration on this side of the structure, your code enforcement staff being together, your planning staff, engineering, finance, grouping those employees together. We talked about that issue early on in the presentation, how that's been difficult over the last number of years, and this facility addresses that need and that efficiency. Council chambers, be a very, very, very nice change, something that most communities have, and this community has not had for the past 30 years. This is around 14,000 square feet of space, internal structural space, as well as a significant area outdoors, which requires rehabilitation. So you've got your town services consolidation construction cost estimate at approximately $6.1 million. You've got your exterior site construction work at approximately $2.1 million. You've got your design costs estimated for the structure at around, in my terms, $434,000, and your site work design cost at just slightly less than $200,000, for an approximate overall cost of $8.9 million. This project's going to take approximately 2 years to deliver. If you look at the design, the bidding, award of construction, and construction timeline, we'll talk about that a little bit. So in our construction cost estimate, we have included an escalation factor of 3%. You see that number here, coming up to a total budget rounded up of almost $9.2 million. Next steps, if approved by the council this evening, is the preparation of construction documents and specifications, furniture planning, regulatory permitting, as well as the bidding phase. There's optional tasks that we will return to the council with in the future, depending upon what direction we take. In terms of timelines, design is estimated at approximately 6 months, permitting approximately 1 month, town council authorization to bid, advertising, receipt of bids, award of bids, signing of contracts, 3 months. What's going to happen during construction? Will employees be relocated? Are we going to bring in trailers? Is there a space for them here? Is there a commercial space that we'll lease? That's something that needs to be evaluated, but that's going to take a little bit of time to kick them out of the building before the contractor can start work. And then finally, demolition and construction estimated at 12 months. Recommendation, again, is that the council approves the design development plan. That would be your elevations, your floor plans, your site plan that you've seen this evening as presented. Approves and authorizes an agreement with Gillis Panachapin Architects, Inc. for preparation of construction plans and specs for the project in the amount of $632,292. Authorizes the mayor, town manager, town attorney to sign all documents necessary to implement the project. Staff would be happy to answer questions following any public comment.
Wow, nice presentation. Is there anybody in the public that wishes to comment on what you saw? Anybody online? Quiet bunch. That's pretty Pretty marvelous. A lot of great ideas there. Back to council. Comments?
Yeah, I like the idea of the consolidation of facilities. Again, for people to do town business, sometimes they have to be in two different campuses. They're on the opposite sides of town, or at least far enough away that it feels like an opposite side. So I think it allows for us to do cross-training of employees. So an employee that perhaps has to fill in for something that's more along the town administration or the planning department, they could be cross-trained in doing several duties, so they would be in the same building, be able to pick up for somebody that might be absent that day, or some type of flex scheduling where they share a job. Also, it could definitely help us with reducing labor costs. Labor costs are the most expensive part of what we do. The constant breaking down and setting up of a room over and over again that's used for a variety of activities, including park and rec activities, as well as meetings, as well as public events and so forth. It would really help us reduce those costs. My understanding of the design is that the seating, maybe the board seating would be permanent, but the attendant or the audience or the community seating for coming to an event would be flexible. But not have to necessarily be broken down between meetings. It could
That's correct.
sit there for a period of time and not be disturbed.
That's correct.
Okay. And I also like the idea that we have a very old building that needs ADA compliance, needs to be updated. We need to look at energy efficiency with lighting. There's a lot of technology that's really changed through the years, and we're definitely behind the times. The one thing I would really like to, and I love the idea of the parking. We do have very limited parking out there, so I love the idea of parking because people are creatures of habit. They're going to come to town hall. They're going to come on this side, not necessarily use the parking lot on the other side as much as we'd like them to use. So I do like the additional parking. What I'd like to explore is the viability of having a solar element within the project. A lot of our schools in the school district have done solar above the parking lot areas, which provides some shade for vehicles, or rooftop solar. Since we have flat buildings, also are aesthetically pleasing and don't stick out as much. So I don't know if that's something that could be explored, the viability of adding a solar element to the project. Is that something that could be looked into?
So I think the town looks for those options, and we are continuously keeping our eyes open for opportunities. And that, what does that mean? That means funding. Those things are expensive, but definitely we can look at what those alternatives are and what are those costs and how can those be paid for.
Yeah, and how much time it would take to recoup any solar investment. But I'll be bringing that back up when I see the final design. So I'd just like to see us always look at new projects and including some solar in those. Otherwise, great idea and great project.
Councilmember Droz.
Thank you for the presentation. I agree with everything Councilmember Abel said, and I see nothing controversial here. Yucca Valley is growing, and this is a project that's going to be used 50 years into the future, so it's really important. So I agree, and let's see where it goes.
All right. Councilmember Schooler.
First of all, we do have solar on Town Hall now, don't we? We do, okay. One question would be how are we finding the money for this?
So before Curtis makes any comments, council's priorities for public facilities were identified as number one, the Prop 68 aquatics and recreation facility, followed by the town hall, and then followed by the senior center. As part of that overall effort, the town issued certificates of participation to assist in the financing of these public facilities in accordance with those town council priorities. This project would be partially funded, if not fully funded, from those resources. With that, I will turn the rest over to Curtis.
Yeah, I think that's accurate, and you'll remember the financing that we did in 2022. In addition, you have reserve funding that has been set aside for the past 10 years. You have special revenue funds, whether they're development impact fees for public facilities. You have some other buckets of funding as well. In terms of planning, town staff is obviously tracking all of our projects concurrently. And so one of our exercises that will be very helpful here is the Prop 68 project will have already been bid and awarded. So we'll have that identified in terms of all the different funding structure needed for that project for the YV ARC. And then this is the second highest priority project for the town. Other ones that we have that are ongoing, for example, your Old Town parking lot, some of those are a little bit smaller price tags, easier to fit in. These are the big ticket items, but we are tracking all of those concurrently.
I appreciate that, and I do appreciate staff's effort to manage all of that. We're in an exciting time with the ability to do the projects that we have, the pool, the aquatic center, the gymnasium, the senior center improvements, Old Town parking facility, and other things, and we've never, I don't think, been in a position where we've been able to produce all these projects and deliver them, and so I think we're blessed to have that. And this may not be as glamorous as some of those other projects, but I think it's essential, and we have the space. It's a good use of the space. It's essential that we kind of maybe come into the 21st century in terms of our ability to consolidate our functions, city functions, town functions, that and modernize how we do what we do. We know we don't have enough parking up at Town Hall. The circulation here is a little bit iffy. The landscape is certainly needs freshening up. I like that element of it, that we can give it a fresh look. I think that's good, and it'll serve us for many years once we get this project delivered. So I think costs are only going to go up from here, so it's probably a good time to do it, and I support it, and I appreciate the presentation. It looks awesome.
Great. All right. I'm in favor of moving forward with this. It's nice to see reuse of the space that we have, and the adding of 1,700 square feet will make it even more functional into the future, which I think is a good idea to start on that. Sad to see the rose garden disappear, being a gardener, but it's okay. Maybe we can find some.
Yeah, I'm hoping that maybe staff can put those in pots and have them up for adoption, that people can take them.
That'd be lovely.
And then, because there's a lot of heritage or a lot of history there.
I was even thinking you could take cuttings. There's ways to
Yeah.
clone the plants and put them up.
I think the population of roses over the years has diminished considerably. We don't have what it used to be in its heyday. It's quite a bit less.
But still very pretty and still very much a part of the Yucca Valley I remember.
Mayor Pro Tem, before you take your staff recommendation, if that's the desire of the council, just two shout outs. One to Jack Panachapin, who's online today, listening into the comments from the council to better be able to deliver the final product. Him and his team have done a terrific job on this. And then I want to give a shout out to Doug Lotus, one of our admin folks over in community development, that has shepherded this project kind of as a quasi-project manager. So very great job that he's done moving this forward and keeping the meetings on task and moving these as you as a council want to see things moved forward.
All right. Well, thank you all. It really is a remarkable looking project. Let's, anybody want to move this forward?
I'll move the item.
I'll make a second.
Okay.
Provide the second.
Councilmember Zabel,
Yes.
Droz,
Yes.
Schooler,
Yes.
and Mayor Pro Tem Lombardo.
Yes. All righty. So we are now on to item number 16, Animal Care and Control Presentation and Report.
Good evening. Doug Smith, your Animal Care and Control Manager, is here this evening to give council the annual report. And after that, and public comments, we'll answer any questions that the council has.
Okay.
Good evening. The staff report is presented with the recommendation that it just be received and filed. Okay. Honorable Mayor Pro Tem, Town Council, Town Staff, ladies and gentlemen, Before I begin my presentation this evening, I would like to draw your attention to the years 2019 and 2022. 2019 will be used during the presentation for comparison of year 2022, as it is the year before the pandemic began, and it would be a better comparison to see how the shelter performs in a more normal type year. As you may be familiar with, the Animal Care and Control Program is broken down into 3 sections: field services, shelter services, and administrative services. Beginning with the field services, the section of the program provides field operations to the residents and businesses within the town limits. Animal control officers are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Field Services has 2 fully equipped animal control vehicles. One is a primary unit and one is a backup vehicle. While operations were modified during the COVID closure, operations have returned to pre-COVID standards as COVID restrictions were relaxed. For statistical purposes, field responses are tracked as regular or business hours and as after-hours responses. Regular or business hours for animal control are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. After hours are any hours, including holidays, not covered as regular hours. This slide shows the number of business hour calls responded to by animal control officers and the actual number of after-hour calls staffs responded to over the past 6 years. Some of the after-hour calls may be responded to the next business day due to the type of complaint received. As you can see by the information, the numbers of calls can vary greatly year over year. In 2019, the number of regular call responses decreased, and in 2022, the number of calls returned to a more normal expected level. It would be expected that these numbers would fluctuate slightly year over year. Looking at the shelter services section of the program, Shelter Services provides sheltering and housing of animals for Yucca Valley as well as the surrounding unincorporated areas. The sheltering of animals from outside of the town limits is on a contractual relationship between the county and the town. This slide shows the number of dogs and cats sheltered over the past 6 years. As you can see, in 2020, there was a decrease in the number of animals at the shelter. This decrease is attributed to the pandemic shutdown, owners staying home during the lockdown, schools being closed, etc. For the dogs, this decrease continued into 2021 with only a slight increase to the shelter intakes. However, in 2022, the number of dogs entering the shelter returned to what we would normally anticipate. For cats, 2019 saw a decrease in intakes, which continued through 2020 and 21. In 22, this reduction continued. Now, the shelter not only accepts dogs and cats, but other animals such as ducks, chickens, rabbits, potbelly pigs, guinea pigs, and similar small animals. Wildlife such as snakes, birds, and such are also counted in this category as others. This slide shows the number of other animals entering the shelter over the past 6 years. Again, in 20 and 21, we saw a decrease in the number of animals, but in 22, the number returned to a more anticipated amount. Now, before I continue the presentation, I want to give you the guidelines the shelter uses when determining when animals are placed for adoption with the public. State law, specifically Food and Agriculture Code 17005 and Penal Code 599D, both define what an adoptable animal is. Basically, it's public safety first and animal health second in making the determination. There are 4 ways in general an animal is tracked when it leaves the shelter, those being RTO or return to owner, adopted to the public, transferred to a partnered 501c3 animal rescue organization or other animal shelter for placement, and euthanasia. For determination of adoptability, the shelter uses a 3-category approach, the first being behavior or safety, the second being health, and the third being animal shelter population control. I want to stress, population control is always the last category of consideration during this determination process. As you can see, pre-pandemic, the shelter had an adoption rate to the public in the 30+% range and a transfer to our rescue partners and other shelters in the 5% range. Through the pandemic, the adoption rate to the public dropped and the transfer rate to our partners and other shelters increased. The euthanasia rate stayed consistent in the 20% range prior to and through the pandemic years. However, in '22, there was an uptick in this category. This increase may be attributed to the changing homeowner demographic of the basin, the inflationary uptick in the overall economy, and the increased cost for daily necessities, and also the quality of the dogs that we were receiving into the shelter. To demonstrate the rising cost of maintaining a dog, just so you guys know, when we buy our dog food, we buy it by the pallet load. We don't buy individual bags at the stores. But to demonstrate this rising cost of maintaining a dog, in October of '21, the shelter paid $23.89 for a 55-pound bag of dog food. In May of this year, the same bag would have cost $38.31, an increase of $14.42, or just over 60%. Along with the rising cost of pet food, potential owners may not be adopting due to the increased overall cost of living. For the cats, we saw a noticeable decrease in intakes in the year prior to the pandemic and through the pandemic. This continued through year '22. The owner return rate for cats remained consistently low in the 1 to 2% rate. Just so you understand, other shelters, that's a common. RTOs for cats is generally very low. People don't come and claim their cats. Adoptions to the public fluctuated a bit year over year. Euthanasia numbers remained as expected range due to the number of feral and unsocialized cats brought to the shelter. And the transfer to rescue partners and other shelters fluctuate. This fluctuation can be attributed to space availability with our rescue partners and the availability of space at other shelters. Another trend we are seeing at the shelter is a slowdown in the number of visitors. Example, in 2019, we had 6,115 visitors to the shelter, and in 2022, there was only 4,028 visitors. This is a reduction of around just under 2,100, or a decrease of around 34%. Phone contacts to the shelter in 2019 were 9,275, and in 22, that number decreased to 7,740, a decrease of just over 1,500 calls, and around a 17% decrease. Again, these changes may be contributed to the changing demographic or inflation to the overall economy. Now, we do host adoption events, and in 2020, just prior to the start of the pandemic, we held the Valentine's Adoption Day event, and then in March is when we had the shutdown for the pandemic. During 20 and 21, we did not hold any adoption events, as we did not want to encourage a large gathering of people and possible spread of the virus within the community and within staff. And as you can see by this photo, when we open the doors for an adoption event, this is generally what our lobby looks like, full of people raring to go, wanting to adopt animals, and not a good mix when you have a pandemic going on and you don't want to spread the virus. But in December of 2022, with the COVID restrictions beginning to be relaxed, the shelter did a Forever Home for the Holidays holiday adoption event. Adoption fees were reduced to $40 for dogs and $40 for cats. Then in March of this year, we held our March Madness event, where the cost of the dogs was reduced to $40 and cats were reduced to $20. The normal adoption fee for a dog is $92 plus licensing, plus microchip, and $55 for a cat plus microchipping. This event was followed by our Springtime Petapalooza adoption event for the months of April and May, with the same promotional price as carried through from the March Madness events. To try to increase interest in the shelter and shelter adoptions, in May we conducted a surprise Star Wars adoption event on May 4th, or May the 4th be with you. For this event, adoption prices were reduced to $4. Now, May the 5th, or Cinco de Mayo, we did the Cinco de Mayo weekend event because it was on a Friday, and we changed the price then to whole $5 for a dog or a cat. And currently for the month of June, we are doing our Schools Out for Summer adoption event, where we've returned the fees to $40 for dogs and $20 for cats.
I'm going to interrupt here for a moment. You saw the different rates and the different prices that we've set. And this is a surprise to Doug, so I'm going to apologize to him. But he and I have had some conversations about what's been happening at the shelter. The council's heard me make comments at the last couple meetings about reduced customer walk-through traffic, and you saw those numbers today. You saw the numbers that the animal intake number is back up to pre-COVID levels. a significant reduction in the customers that are visiting the shelter and a huge increase in costs for maintaining animals. Doug and I have had some conversations, and you saw the adoption programs that we've put on. I'm going to ask Doug to tell you a story about what's been happening between Riverside County and the adoption fees that they've been charging and how that affects cities like Moreno Valley. Doug has professional relationships with folks in those areas, so I kind of want him to paint the picture of what a couple other agencies are doing these days and how that affects adoption programs.
One of the nice things we have in our area is we're kind of isolated out here by ourselves. So I don't have the competition like Moreno Valley does with Riverside County shelters right in their backyard. Moreno Valley had to, Riverside County reduced their adoption fees to $0. Just come and take them. And with the potential owners not having any skin in the game, so to speak, once the animal becomes a problem, they just kick them loose. They're back on the streets again because there's no incentive to keep the pet. I've got nothing involved other than the cost of a bag of food, a bowl, a blanket maybe, and correcting whatever damage the dog has done. Moreno Valley had to reduce their costs down to $0 as well, because their adoption numbers just tanked because everybody was going to the free animals to get them and not coming to where the cost was at their shelter. So they've had to mimic that as well, and they're seeing the same problems of animals going out the door, and then shortly thereafter they're seeing a certain number of percentage of them coming back to the shelter. It's just a boomerang effect.
Thank you, Doug.
Again, we're nice out here because we're kind of isolated. We've got we're the cornerstone on the market. Back to the presentation. Prior to the pandemic, and during the pandemic, after the shelter was fully reopened to the public, the community continued to show their support by the donations of gently used blankets and towels to the shelter animals. These items are used and needed year-round for the comfort of the shelter pets, and these types are always welcomed, donations are always welcomed at the shelter. Now, the third section of the program is administrative services. Administrative services is responsible for the record-keeping and fiscal aspects of the program, the initial receiving of calls from the public and dispatching of field staff, the licensing aspect of the program, the social media presence of the program, organizing shelter events, and processing applications for the spay and neuter voucher program that the town has. Now, at the start of the pandemic, the closure and limited services available from the local veterinarians, we had to suspend our program because there just was we couldn't give the people a voucher because the vets weren't open to be used. So once the vets started to open back up again where they were providing services, we were able to reinstate the voucher program shortly thereafter. And we experienced some wait list problems. We had to work through some issues there, but the situation has resolved to a more pre-pandemic wait time, which is generally less than 90 days to get an appointment, and the vouchers are again being issued and used by the public. This program continues to provide a $60 voucher for dogs and $35 for cats in the assistance for the spay and neuter of surgeries for pets of the residents of Yucca Valley and are valid for 90 days from the date of issuance. There is a limit of 3 vouchers per 5-year period per resident's address, and if the voucher is for a dog, they have to license the dog after redeeming the voucher. These vouchers are accepted at the 3 local providers for service, as well as the San Bernardino Valley Humane Society in San Bernardino, and this voucher program is funded by a generous donation to Animal Care and Control Program with no tax dollars used for the actual voucher reimbursements. In closing, I wish to, on behalf of myself and the Animal Care and Control team, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the council for their continued support of the program and the animals of the community in our care. The staff also wishes to acknowledge and thank the community for their continued support and would encourage those thinking of adopting to visit the shelter and see the high level of care the shelter pets receive and perhaps find a new friend, a new family member. And this concludes my presentation. And again, this is a staff report is presented for the recommendation that it be received and filed by the council. And I will be more than happy to answer any questions after public comment.
Very nice. Thank you, Doug. Is there anybody in the public or online that wishes to comment? Seeing none, back to the council. Any questions?
Don't have any questions, just thank you for the report, Doug. It's always good to see well, I don't even know if they're trends, but the numbers, the statistics, and it seems like maybe it's trending downward in terms of calls for service, but it also seems like you need to be prepared because that could surge at any given moment. So we appreciate what your staff does, what you do out there. Shelter seems to be, from where I sit, that seems to be functioning really well, and the facility seems to be doing what it's supposed to do. It's what, 10 years since we built that shelter?
10 years.
That's hard to go back to the days before that, what we were looking at for a shelter, but I think that's serving us well, and staff seems to be doing a great job out there, so thank you.
Thank you, Doug, for your hard work and for all the staff up there. They're doing a fantastic job. I had a couple questions. One is, have you seen after the pandemic a surge in the surrender rate? People voluntarily having to maybe move or lost jobs or things like that, and they have to voluntarily surrender their pet?
We're seeing an increase in surrender rates. We're also seeing an increase in, this year specifically, an increase of puppies, where people have gotten pets that weren't spay or neutered. They've gotten them private placements from other sources, and now they're suddenly having puppies. And at one point we had probably 40 puppies at the shelter in one shot that are coming in, and now we're having to get them vaccinated, spay, neutered, and then ready for placements. So we're trying to push those through as many as we can, as fast as we can. But that's the trend we're kind of seeing is a lot of owner surrenders. And quite honestly, some of the owner surrenders who are coming in, when I made the comment about the quality of dog, they're coming in and telling us, I need to surrender my 2 dogs. They constantly just fight with each other, and we've already had problems with them and such. And so when we evaluate them for placement, we really find they're not really placeable pets with the public because of their disposition for aggression towards other animals or even towards people. So those are not placed for adoption. Again, it's a safety factor for the community.
Right, and yes, you hate to have to put a pet down, but then also you have to figure out, or you have to prioritize people's safety first and foremost. Did you see that the different events and the price difference, did that make a difference in the number of people adopting or arriving? Did it have a significant effect one way or the other?
It had a little bit of an effect, not as much as I was hoping for, but the main thing I was hoping for was that it would generate interest in the shelter. So when people thought about pets, they would think, oh yeah, remember they had them at a reduced price. Let's go to the shelter and look and see what they have. Maybe they're running an event now. And so even, like a normal price is $92 for a dog, and we drop it down to $40, and we even throw in the microchip at that price. So we're trying to stimulate interest in the shelter and into the future.
And again, thank you for mentioning again that people can make donations to our wonderful animal shelter. If you love animals like I do and a lot of council members and staff members do, think about that before you throw out some towels that are perfectly good for, a shelter to use or not go into the landfill, or if heaven forbid your pet passes away and you're not ready to adopt yet, any leftover foods or things like that would be a great donation. So
it's along the lines of renew, reuse, and recycle.
Right. And so thank you for all the work you do. I know you have to deal with some heart-wrenching issues, and I appreciate your leadership up there.
I just want to say thank you for the great presentation. And I know you yourself and your staff have always went above and beyond with all the interactions I've had with all of you. So I thank you for that. Can you give us an example of how many dogs you have there right now, how many cats as of today approximately, and if you have any other types of animals?
At the moment, we have no other types of animals than dogs or cats. We just placed an 85-pound sulcata tortoise that we got to the shelter. We had this person come in and wanted to adopt it, which was a wonderful thing. Currently at the shelter, there's probably in the neighborhood of 55 to 62 dogs, and cats are probably in the 25 range.
Okay, well, thank you. I'll try and get the word out, I'm sure. So thank you.
Very impressive presentation. It's obvious that the shelter is benefiting from your experience and your leadership. You have great staff. They're hardworking. Who's the marketing genius that comes up with all these different adoption plans? I think it's pretty cute, some of the,
Some of them are pretty cute, some of them are a little wacky, but you know, the
hey,
idea.
that's fun.
The idea is it's fun. Let's just generate the interest to come up and have people find pets.
Are these ideas that come to you from your network through the various counties around us, or is it, do you have an employee that's just got these crazy word associations and?
No, I belong to a state group of animal control officers, and we hear the different events that other organizations are running, and we copy each other's events, and you know, we can take their event, tweak it to fit our scenario type thing. We all try to work together, and along those lines, the similar problems that we're seeing that we're seeing here in Yucca Valley, they're experiencing the same thing statewide.
Right.
We're not isolated in that aspect. Other shelters we're constantly seeing pleas from other shelters is, can you take 10 large dogs? Because we are well over capacity, and we haven't reached that point where we've had to make the dire pleas to other organizations, but other places are better than us, some of us are worse than us. We're all in this together, though.
Right. Do you see any relief on the rising costs of food in the future, or is this something we're going to have to be paying attention to and continually monitoring the budget?
I foresee this as being an ongoing with the rest of the economy. As the economy goes, the price of dog food is going to go with it.
Okay.
And if the economy should suddenly take a major downturn where people are losing their jobs and like that, I would expect to see a large number of intakes at the shelter from people who are just saying, I just can't afford to keep them anymore.
Okay. It's been 10 years since it was open, the new facility. That just blows my mind. That was the upgrading of one of the first buildings of our environment here. And it was because of a partnership that we had with the county, and that partnership is still going strong, and you still feel that the town of Yucca Valley is being well served by that partnership. Is that correct?
I do. It's a good partnership. We are on very good terms with each other. We communicate frequently. They support us. If we needed something, we're able to support them to a degree if they need something. So we're right there together. It's a partnership, and we're there for each other.
Very good.
I had one other thought. The town of Yucca Valley is part of the Chamber of Commerce. We're a member. Have we ever had a Chamber of Commerce event at the animal shelter where the different business people might come and get a tour and have an event at the facility, and then word gets out that way? Have we had one yet?
We have not.
Okay, that might be something to look into as far as we can
Very
do
good
it.
idea.
Do it safely. Yeah.
All right, the more the public sees, the more they can get involved. And we do have a community that seems to get involved every chance they can, so we just need to bring it to their attention. Thank
Okay,
you
sounds good.
so much.
Thank you.
All right, I suggest we file and receive and file is how this goes. And that brings us to the end of our program here. Is there any further comments from the staff?
Oh, yeah, Mayor Pro Tem, future agenda item?
Oh, yeah, we got a few things.
Yeah, Mayor Pro Tem and council, I've had several individuals approach me about being able to host different various events at their home. Perhaps it's an anniversary party, or perhaps a birthday party. Could be a wellness retreat, or having a daytime wedding maybe at their home. And my understanding is our current town regulations don't specifically address an owner's ability to hold a small gathering or an event. So if it's pleasing to the council and they'd like to have staff look into it, I'd ask that we might have a future agenda item that would perhaps provide us some background information and alternatives if somebody would want to host an event like that, what kind of things that we might want to look into, circumstances and criteria, and what kind of limitations like size or different things like that. So right now, it really isn't specifically addressed, so I think that could be perhaps something staff could come back with us and give us an update and give us some ideas, if we have consensus.
I think that's a wonderful idea. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're in agreement on that. Yeah, we don't really have a
specific
place in Yucca Valley that.
Well, you know, and like I said, it's something to perhaps look into, so we'll see how it comes out.
Great
and
idea.
what people think.
Anything else? All right, at this time, we'll take public comment. The town council takes this time to consider your comments on items of concern which are not on the agenda. When you are called to speak, please state your name and community of residence. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. Inappropriate behavior which disrupts, disturbs, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the meeting will result in forfeiture of your public comment privileges. The town council is prohibited by state law from taking any action or discussion of items not on the printed agenda. Is there anybody wishing to speak? Online, anybody? No? Okay, staff reports and comments?
Captain, I'll start with you. What do you got tonight? Anything?
I just wanted to thank the council and the town. As you know, on May the 31st, it was the 2-year anniversary of Sergeant Dominic Vaca being killed in the line of duty here in Yucca Valley. Several people in this room were present, and I really appreciated the comments delivered at the event on the down at Veterans Park. It's still pretty raw with some of our people at our station, many of whom were very close with Dominic, and a majority of them worked with Dominic at some point in their career, most of whom up in Yucca Valley. So just wanted to thank the town. The sheriff came up, the office of the sheriff, and our executive staff. Very classy move. Valerie Vaca was able to join us that day, and we were able to present her the flag that flew over Yucca Valley last year on the 1-year anniversary and was retired. So that is now in the hands of the Vaca family. And then we have a Yucca Valley Dominic Vaca flag that will proudly hang in our station. So I just wanted to thank the council for that. It was very well received by the family and by my crew at the station, so thank you.
Thank you, Captain. Thank you for you and your team's efforts as well in making that a successful event. We were going to just have a couple of closing pictures on that, but we decided to wait until Mayor Dennison was back since he wasn't able to participate in that event. We thought that would be fitting at that point. Before I jump over to Jordan, I don't know if she'll have anything this evening. Sue, you have anything for the group today?
Sure. So June happenings in community services, High Desert Nature Museum recently opened their Abracadabra exhibit. It's on Everyday Magic. It's an interactive exhibit on display June 2nd through August 12th, where children and adults will discover that what might appear to be magic can be explained through the principles of math and science. That theme continues with our Magical Family Fun Day on June 17th from 10 to 2 here at the Community Center. Also ramping up our summer aquatics program. Registrations opening for activities such as swim lessons, water aerobics, fun swim, and lap swim. The community pool located at Yucca Valley High School will open for the summer on June 19th. In addition, Recreation is offering a new 4-day evening summer basketball clinic from June 26th through 29th. Sessions are offered in age-appropriate divisions from 5th to 12th grade, so they can visit our website for more information on that. And our registration is also underway for adult summer softball, so June is busy, busy, busy.
Okay.
Thanks, Sue. Alex, you have anything tonight?
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. I just would like to give you an update on the Essex Park project. I just would like to announce that the contractor will start on this project at the week of June 19th. Wow. So we got together with him, we discussed it, and so we can have that grass to be established on time. He will be starting in June 19th. I just would like to encourage the residents that use that park, because we're going to be closing it, so we can establish the grass. We need about 3 months to get this done. So I just encourage them to obey by these rules and not to get into it. We're going to be closed it anyways. So hopefully that is well, pending weather or any failure of anything, or for purchase of equipment, but we will try as much as we can get the dog park only, for what we're talking about here, is to be opened within the time allotted. We have right now, there's a press release going to be going out on this one, and we have right now a sign that says that inform the people, inform the residents that dog park will be closed as of June 19th of this month.
I live right near Macris Park, and a lot of times people have their dogs there as well. Do you think that they'll start using Macris Park more when they close the park?
It could be. But we'll
That's
we'll
not
watch.
encouraged, though, is that right?
Not encourageable.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Thank you.
No comments this evening. I've exceeded my fair share of comments tonight.
Jordan, I didn't see you pop on, so I'll assume that you're good to go. Mayor and Council, just 2 comments for you this evening. Number 1, a quick update on Western Joshua Tree Conservation Act. So as you know, there was trailer bill language that was introduced a couple months back that was gutted and amended, turned into AB 1008 through Assemblymember Rebecca Bauer-Cahan. Had some significant changes to it. That has moved through the Assembly, has been put, and approved through the Assembly, has been put back to the Senate side. We've asked for an update from the Department of Fish and Wildlife. They don't know exactly how this is going to end up. Their last response to us was that it may be possible that the original Western Joshua Tree Conservation Act language still ends up being what is adopted through that reconciliation process. So a number of unknowns at this point, but that is something that we're keeping our eye on. Lastly, on some good news for your Yucca Valley Aquatics and Rec Center, as you know, the design approval goes through the town's approval process, with the exception of the permitting of the pool. That goes through the San Bernardino County Department of Environmental Health Services. They sent out this note late last week, says, hello team, we wanted to thank you for working with the EHS team on this project, which will be of great benefit for the community. We appreciate the opportunity to collaborate with you and your team. We're excited to inform you that the plans for the pool are conditionally approved. They had some other language in there, but the good news is that I think the heavy lifting is done. It's taken a little bit longer. I think they got the plans at the end of last year, beginning of the year, so it's been quite a process, quite a journey, but I think we're there. We got subsequent notice today from our design team that they submitted all of the requested ancillary items that were requested, and the department seems to be indicating that they will have final approval package at the end of this week. So super exciting. Looking forward to seeing that move forward to the bid process pretty soon.
We're still on timeline for...
Yes, our calendar is still in accordance with what we've established in your most recent review at the council level.
Very good.
That's it, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you.
All righty. Councilmember Abel?
I want to thank all the commissioners, the youth commissioners that came today, and those that couldn't be here. Thank you for all the hard work, and Sue for putting that program through the paces and doing a great job in administrating their activities. Always appreciate that, and every activity is very classy, very top-notch. I know the seniors really appreciate the interaction with youth, and I think it does the youth a lot of good to do that as well. Also want to thank Mayor Pro Tem Lombardo for doing an excellent job in reviewing all the applicants for the 2 commissions. We had a lot of great applicants that was mentioned several times during the meeting, but it is a tough selection process. I know you went through every application. You also interviewed people, some people in person as well, and it's very time consuming, but you brought back 2 wonderful recommendations, and we're very fortunate as a community to have such great applicants and people coming forward to serve us. I'm counting on legal counsel to provide perhaps a release of liability form for rose bush adoptions so that we can give away rose bushes without getting sued. But other than that, thank you so much for everyone who attended, and that's all my comments.
Councilmember Droz?
All right. Yeah, thank you for going through all the applications, Mayor Pro Tem. You had a lot of quality applications. I think you made good choices. I do want to say that Sergeant Vaca's memorial service was very touching, and it was an honor to be there. And the bagpipes really, you know, there were bagpipes there, and I won't go on too much more. We'll be covering it at a future meeting, but it was really an honor to be there. I want to also thank our Public Works employees, because it was their is their appreciation time. So all the hard work they do. And I want to thank all of our staff because there's so much moving parts in this town. I don't think I've ever seen so many things going on at once. There's just a lot, and it's mind-boggling, and it amazes me. So thanks to everyone that has worked on everything so hard, and have a great 2 weeks.
All right.
Okay. Echo those comments from the other commissioners. Welcome and congratulations to Alejandro and Tracy on your appointments, and we're looking forward to working with you. Youth commissioners, great job. It's always good to see 25 or so years later that the Youth Commission is still going strong, and it seems like some of the early youth commissioners are now having kids that are youth commissioners. We're getting to be that point, so a good program. And beyond that, thanks for the good reports this evening, and congratulations to all the people that are graduating, the high school graduates, Yucca Valley High School, Joshua Springs, Copper Mountain College, all the people that are graduating this time of year. So congrats and have a great summer.
All right. Well, do want to thank the Public Works and our commissioners. It's going to be fun to work with everybody, and the Youth Commission, it's always a joyful event to see how they change and grow, and that idea of community service is passed on from an early age, and it helps form friendships and things that'll be beneficial way into the future. Sergeant Dominic Vodka's memorial plaque unveiling was a very emotional time and was a beautiful event. It has a lot of meaning, and it's sad that it's a necessary thing in our community, but he served and he gave his life to help protect us, and it's only right and fitting that we have a memorial for him. Let's see, what else? I think I'll just leave it there. I was really emotionally moved by that memorial. It was really quite an event, and it'll forever be a place to go to remember him. Thank you for attending and for being online. Our next meeting will be, next regular meeting, the Yucca Valley Town Council will be held on Tuesday, June 20th at 2023 at 6 p.m. here in the Community Center. Thank you and good night.